two. Welcome back to Pardon the Disruption. My name is Jonathan Sanchez, your host, but they call me Weasel around here. And I'm joined by some real room shakers, the bosses of all bosses, some guys I'd like to call my friends at this point. Gentlemen, how you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Awesome.
All good on this side.
What's up?
There we go. All right, let's give a quick introduction for everyone who is joining maybe for the first time. Let's start with Steve.
Steve Trang, Real Estate Disruptors. Got sales training, the podcast, wholesaling, title company. Recently acquired a bank, got into multifamily. So anything in real estate, if it touches real estate, I want to be involved in one way or another.
There we go, Steve Trang. All right, let's go to his virtual right, Leon Barnes.
Leon G. Barnes, that is Weasel.
Don't forget the G.
Of membership for the greatest mastermind in the land, the Collective Genius. And this week, the G stands for come get some, because RJ and his VAs are not a part of this week. So we actually have a chance to win.
I love it. Early shots. To his virtual right, Eric Brewer, please introduce yourself to the crowd.
Eric Brewer. I am out of South Central Pennsylvania, soon to be a Florida resident. Been real estate investing for 17 years. I do a little bit of everything. Fix and flip, wholesale, turnkey. Recently, in the last 2 years, I've been blessed to be a part of Collective Genius at the leadership level. So I get to interact with hundreds of real estate investors on a daily and weekly basis. May also be the inventor of novations, a super popular topic right now. It's been around for a long time, but it has not been used correctly. And I've changed that and introduced it in the last 2 years with the help of my friend, Steve Trang. I've been off for 2 weeks. So I apologize to the rest of the crew. But this is now varsity. This is no longer JV like you've been playing for the last 2 weeks. I'm ready to get it cracking.
If it makes you feel better, no one noticed you weren't here.
It's okay. Sign of a real leader.
Well, welcome back. And just one for the road really quickly. Let me hit you with one of those. Just because I missed you, man. I missed you. All right, CJ, let's go.
No, Chris Jefferson, Richmond, Virginia. I run Charged Up University. I work with people who are looking at getting started wholesaling or doing 1 to 2 deals a month and want to get to 5 to 10 deals a month consistently. Also fix and flip houses, rent houses, wholesale houses, do everything with houses basically. And I'm excited to be back. I think I've won twice now. I'm going for a third today, man. So I'm excited to be here.
All right, guys. Well, for everyone who is tuning in for the first time, and just a reminder for everyone who has been tuning in, what we do here is we have a list of questions. We're going to go ahead and debate, give our takes, and then we give everyone a chance to debate each other openly. So 45 seconds for each to make your point, and then we go ahead and we argue. And that's my favorite part. So I want to get you guys a little bit riled up. We need a big episode today. So let's start with question number 1. What is the best exit strategy today? And let's go ahead and start with Steve.
So for me, especially right now, I think agility is the single most important thing. And so I would say that with agility, I would say wholesaling is the number one best exit strategy today. It's harder, it's fewer, right? Fewer opportunities to wholesale. You got a whole bunch of other tools to maximize return on investment and everything else. But right this instant, with the way the market's going, I would say agility is the most important part of an exit strategy. So with that, I would say wholesaling.
Okay. Didn't even use the full 45 seconds, Steve. That confident in your point, huh?
Doesn't have that much to say.
Leon G. Barnes, let's move over to you, sir.
So we're making a lot of assumptions with this question. So I'm going to assume that we're talking about single family real estate investors. And if that's the case, wholesaling is the best exit strategy today. One that I honestly, in my investment career, have never really utilized. Like Chris, I'm more of a fix and flipper and a landlord. And so I'm giving a suggestion here as the best exit strategy of one that I don't necessarily do. But if I'm looking at the best exit strategy today, I was on a call yesterday where people are seeing underwriting change between 10 and 25 and some even higher on what they should be offering at this point, with things changing on a daily basis, the best exit strategy right now, today, wholesaling.
Okay. Perfect timing.
That's how it's done.
There we
45
go.
seconds. Get it in.
All right, let's go over to Eric Brewer, the moment we've been waiting for. Sir, your opinions on the best exit strategy.
So I think it's a trick question. I think the safest is wholesale. The best has always been buy and hold. Like, it depends on how long you plan on being in the game, right? If you're doing this for a 20-year timeline, whatever you buy today, history would tell you will double in value every 20 years. So I would agree that wholesale is in fact the safest, right? But it's a rat race. It's one of the things that, like, when you're wholesaling today, your margins will certainly be lower than they were 12 months ago. So it's the safest, it's the quickest. The best for me would still be buy and hold. I'm going to be around 20 years from now, and I'd love to be able to look back on the things that I bought today, 20 years from now, and see that they've increased in value by twofold.
Okay. With 5 seconds to spare, no need for the buzzer. Back like he never left. I love it.
You can still hit him
All right.
twice. You can still hit him with it.
All right. CJ, let's go ahead and get your opinions.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely going to say wholesaling 110%. I love wholesaling with the combination of a seller finance play with that, utilizing direct to seller leads that, you can have come in where you can, to Eric's point, you can start building out a portfolio in a safe, more secure way, in my opinion, utilizing seller financing against free and clear properties that come in through your direct to seller wholesale marketing. But by far, wholesaling to me is the best exit strategy right now. It's the leanest, it has the less risk. Has the least amount of runway in terms of disposition, things of that nature. So 110% I like wholesaling, but to Eric's point, somebody's got to be a buyer in this market. You got to be able to wholesale properties to somebody. So there's a lot of ways you can approach, but again, 110% wholesaling with a combination of seller financing.
Yeah. I want to add to there. So wholesaling, number one, I think we're all agreed on there for the most part. I would say number two, if we're going to talk about number two, I would say what Eric teaches on novations, right? What we call the Brewer method. Because a lot more homeowners fit in that box than wholesaling, right? So, a realtor referral is the least ideal. Creative, that there's not as many people that fit in that box. Maybe in a 3 to 6 months, more people fit in that box. But right now, wholesaling is the safest, least risk, and I would say right behind that Brewer method is because a lot more people fit in that box than wholesaling.
Well, and it is wholesaling. It's just wholesaling a retail property.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad you said it. It would have been, I try and be humble. I didn't want to state my own method that I created.
You didn't want to go third person on us.
I want to give you credit for something.
Yeah.
I think it goes to that point of, like I'm saying I like saying direct to seller marketing. That's truly what a wholesale business is. At the end of the day, it's a direct to consumer marketing business. And when you control the lead from the inception of the lead itself, you now have the unique ability to decide where that lead then goes, whether it's a seller finance, whether it's an novation, whether it's a rehab, whether it's a buy and hold rental. And so, there's so many people out here right now with businesses that don't control the direct to seller part. And I think those are the people that, really need to understand that wholesale component, to Eric's point, when it comes to novations. You want to be front and center, man, talking to sellers, controlling the lead from the start.
Yeah, I think that's a great
to that point.
The best answer is, and we talk about this all the time at CG, all of them. And when you go to direct to seller, you actually have the ability to take advantage of all disposition strategies based on the asset, the interest rate, the condition, and its highest and best use. So
with one key follow up to Chris and Eric's point, if you buy it right, all of them are right.
Right.
You got to buy it right. Direct to seller gives you that opportunity. So you have to take advantage of the opportunity of buying the asset right, and all the exit strategies then work.
And the people that
Side note, no one said, to Steve's point. Both Chris and Leon both said, to Eric's point. Leon said, no one said to Steve's point.
He's trying to get it out.
We should probably move on. Hit the buzzer.
I would add one more thing to that is right now, because like what Chris is saying, direct to seller. Right now, who's hurt the most right now in our industry? Everyone that's been joint venturing to the funds, right? So direct to seller, right now, right? You talk about the 20-mile march. The direct to seller, you got to stay the course.
All right. Great points all around. Let's take a look at the voting breakdown here. Looks like we actually have a landslide for round number 1, for the disruptor himself, Steve Trang on the board.
A
early.
landslide.
To Steve's point. Thank you.
To Steve's point on this one.
Wow. Wow.
What do you guys think about that? 53%. It's a heavy.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm not seeing the mathing on this. I mean,
Look,
what
well,
did
apparently
Steve
we have-
say again exactly?
Did you go
What
with
did-
the
what did
least
he-
amount of votes? Or
is this do we have
most-
Olympic judging going on today?
Effectiveness of the
What is
word.
this?
It was the
Look at that, look at
effectiveness of the time.
RJ's not even here, and we still have a Votegate scandal. This is incredible.
Leon said there's a Russian judge in the back somewhere.
Exactly.
All right, on to question number 2. Now, let's give a little bit of context to this question. We've seen it in sports a few times with players kind of gambling on themselves, getting the guaranteed contract option right now with their current team, or betting on themselves, proving it over the course of the next year, and then going and cashing out in a free agency situation. So using Juan Soto, for example, right now, he just turned down a $400 million plus contract to not stay with Washington in the long term. So my question to you, gentlemen, if you were in Juan Soto's place as a top talent, are you leaving your current situation or staying? Let's go ahead and start with round 1's winner, Steve.
I mean, for me, I would say that the context, right, is whether you're the best player on the team, you're the best paid player on the team. Does it make sense to stay where you're at or move on? For me, what I always look at, I want to be on the best team. I don't have to be the best player on the team. That's not important to me. I want to be on the best team, but whoever's leading us better know what they're doing and has enough opportunity for me to grow into it, right? If I can hit all my goals on your team, I can follow. I don't have to be the alpha. So I don't know a lot of people out there where I can follow them. Elon Musk comes to mind, right? Like whatever he's trying to do, getting to the moon, I can fit my vision, or going to Mars, I can fit my vision somewhere in going into Mars. But I quit Intel to go chase my dreams. They asked me what it was going to take to keep me back when I was 27. It's like $200,000 a year. They're like, we wish you the best of luck, right? But yeah, for me, I would be willing to stay in one situation.
All right, so Steve going to Mars coming up. Let's go with CJ.
Yeah, so I mean, being top talent is always such a tricky place, and I think we have to point out the fact that although he's getting offered $530 million over, I think 15 years,
$500 million,
half
Over
$1 billion
15 years.
over 15 years. But the key point here is he doesn't have ownership, right? And so when you're top talent and you don't have ownership, the only thing you can leverage is your talent itself, right? And I think what he's in a position of having to do is say, hey, listen, I'm the best person here. I'm the best person on this team. Can I believe in the Nationals to either build around me? Am I going to see where I can still get paid what I deserve as top talent? And you guys can also build a support system around me. Or is there another organization who can either pay me the same amount and accomplish that? Or I can take less money, but have a better team environment and a better winning environment. Because I think he understands this, a simple point. It's not a one-person game, right? When you're working in a business, you're top talent in a company. Yeah, if you're making all the money, that's great. But if everybody around you doesn't eat, company culture, things of that nature. So that's where I'm at on that one for sure.
Great points. Great points. Leon Barnes.
So I would have answered this question differently when I was 23 years old, like Juan Soto. Perspective and age gives it's huge. 20 years his senior, 22 years his senior. This question is better answered for me this way. Like, I personally believe that happiness is more important than money. Rich guys, I used to think that was what rich guys like Steve Trang and Eric Brewer and CJ used to say to me. And I thought it was bogus in my 20s. But in Juan's case, if I were advising him, I would want to know, and anyone that is a great talent, what is the commitment to excellence? What is the commitment to winning? To Steve's point, if I'm going to be an employee, I want to be led by greatness. I want to be surrounded by other talent as well. So in order for me, I'm chasing happiness, and I also want to continue to, maximize my talent and opportunities. And to me, that's more important than that money, because the money's going to come. He's talented.
Yeah. All right. And last but certainly not least, Eric Brewer, your opinions.
Yeah, I would say at the end of the day, I think it's easy for us to all sit back and make assumptions about how that situation should be treated. It would be really hard for me not to just take the bag. I mean, at the end of the day, $500 million, to Chris's point, he can be an owner of something next year. Maybe not of a baseball team. He can be a part owner, but there's certainly a counterpoint to say, and this is at any pay level, right? Once they say technically, once you go above $75,000 a year, it does not have an impact on your happiness. That money is effectively wasted. So there are plenty of people out there with $500 million that are miserable. So I think if that money was in alignment with his overarching purpose and his goals, that's awesome. He should go get both. If not, if you had 400 million versus 500 million, probably doesn't change your lifestyle.
Yeah.
One thing I've seen a lot in mentoring people over the years is watching them like, you know what, I've had the success. I'm ready to go do this on my own. And, you talk about ownership and so on, which I totally get, right? Because everyone here on this call has done that. I think one of the things that they don't appreciate enough is how challenging some things could be, so that the skills that they're great at on closing or whatever doesn't necessarily translate to owning a sales and a marketing organization. And like, you can make some really good money working for Chris, Leon, or maybe Eric, right? Where with no risk, right? As a salesperson with no risk. So you got to balance that, in the context of our organizations. Like, can I make more money out there with more risk, or do I make really good money with zero risk? And what's worthwhile? Going back to Leon's comment about pursuing happiness and so on.
Yeah, I think another thing on that too, real quick, is I think you're always, if you're in the position of Soto, right, you're struggling with the prospect of, okay, this is my value currently, but I am the top player. I am the top talent. I am the leadership in the side of the locker room, so to speak. So then what sway do I have as a non-owner in conversations? We always talk about LeBron and him being the GM and things of that nature, but there's something to be said for that, right? Like, if I'm the top talent on the team, I want to be in that meeting, giving my opinion, being heard, feeling like I'm being listened to. So I think that has a lot to do with it for him, I'm sure, as well, not just the money itself also.
Well, and this doesn't really relate necessarily to employees. And here's why. Most employees that are super talented are not signing a 15-year deal where they are locked in and their value doesn't necessarily change. This gentleman, in 5 years, that $500 million, the value may be $1 billion, right? Mm-hmm. So
or
to sign a 15-year deal
at this pace.
What's that?
With inflation, it'll be worth 100 million.
Yeah, so his value is going to continue to go up, and so this one's a little bit different.
Well, and with Leon's 15-year non-compete in the clause.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's definitely Leon's non-trade clause right there.
The voting will be closing in a few seconds here, everyone in the chat. So please feel free to throw your last second votes in there. Gentlemen, I think you had some great points. I love what Eric Brewer said. I would have a hard time saying no to the bag too. But CJ also, if you're that important, you want to be heard. I can definitely understand that. And to that point, it looks like CJ took this round in his version of a landslide. You're showing off a little bit, 10% more than what Steve had. So that's the way to humble him. CJ, you took that one.
There you go. That's the inflation right there. That's the inflation.
See how quickly it happens. All right, guys. Question number 3. I'm going to bring my notepad out. I want to know what you guys really got to say about this. What is the best way to raise private money? Chris Jefferson, let's start with you.
Yeah, man. So I'm a big private capital person. I used to be a hard money junkie, all right, way back in the day. And it's crippling, right? And so I had to go out and raise a bunch of private money. I had to figure out how to do that. And I found a very kind of clean process. I started going to self-directed IRA conferences. All right. I just started popping up at self-directed IRA conferences. Why does somebody have money in a self-directed IRA account? Because they want to decide how they invest that money. So I started going to these conferences. Shout out to my folks over at Quest IRA. And I would start going to these conferences and having conversations with people that had capital that they wanted to actively place somewhere. Educate them on why I'm an expert and why I fit the bill for what they are looking for, that I can get them a solid, strong return. And you can raise a lot of money that way by going to a place where people are looking to put their money somewhere. Weasel, you want some more? I can give you a little bit more.
Fell asleep.
I got some more in the bag if you need it. I got
it. We must have lost his audio.
Difficulties.
Well, the Weasel, you got it? You there?
Test. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear
We
you
hear
now.
We
you.
got
We
you.
got a
We
little
hear you.
technical difficulties.
So
in the
he was
control room.
voting
My
for
opinion.
Steve. He got distracted there voting for Steve.
Listen, I've
He didn't even
tried. It only
speak
allows
yet.
you once per
He's got
account.
9 votes.
All right, let's go to Steve Trang, actually, second place winner from last round.
So I would say for me, it's just talking to people, right? Letting people know what you do and then just asking them, like, do you know anyone that'd be interested in investing in real estate, right? It's just letting people know what you do. The key thing here is not necessarily to pitch to them, hey, Leon, would you be interested in lending your money at 10%? It's, hey, Leon, do you know anyone that's particularly interested in investing in real estate, gets better returns than, parking at the bank or in the stock market, and having them say, well, what about me? Can I invest in you? Right. So I think just talking to people, letting people know what you do, asking who they know, and having them step was like, no, I want to be that guy.
All right. Eric Brewer, your thoughts?
So my advice would just come from my own personal experience. I would say you either become an expert or align yourself with an expert. It's kind of what Chris said, right? He couldn't go to these places and suggest that they should lend him money if he didn't earn the right to manage that money effectively. So become an expert. Then once you become or align yourself with an expert, get yourself to a visible place. I was able to do this by just doing a ton of social media. Steve and I did a presentation on this. We talked about it a ton. Then those people will gravitate towards you because they want to do what you do, but lack the ability to be able to do all the dynamic things that come along with finding a deal, fixing a deal, selling a deal, managing an appraisal, and all of that. So their entry to real estate investing is lending, not the other 17 things that have to be done in order for us to take a deal from start to finish. So become an expert, lead with value, teach people how to do what you do for free, and they'll come and want to invest in your projects.
Okay. And let's head on over to Leon Barnes to close us out on this one.
Like Eric, I'm going to give you my own personal experience of raising capital. Out of the gates, I just told every single person about our program. We actually developed a program. It sounds much better than I'm raising money. I developed a private money program for people that want to invest and get returns, high returns compared to what they typically would see in other things. So tell everyone is the first advice that I can get. And then as you tell everyone, you start to filter down to what is the best source for you. Like what CJ gave you is a great example. I spent 5 years at networking events every single week, and there were plenty of times that I did not want to go to those meetings. And on those days that I went is typically when I would meet someone that was interested in what we do. We are in a very sexy industry. People are interested in what we do, fix and flip. They love HGTV. Just tell people what you do and to give the success stories. If you're a fix and flipper and you're raising private money, show those success stories via social media and other channels, and people will flock to you to want to invest with you.
One of the big lessons I learned as far as private money was to stop saying no when they only have 20, 30,000. I used to do that. And that is money that could go towards a kitchen, a bathroom, whatever else, like the smaller parts. And that I wish, like one of my regrets in raising private capital is saying no to some of these people, like come back when you have 50,000, come back when you have 100,000.
30 turns into 100 really fast if you're delivering on everything that you said you would deliver on, because they will find other people to help invest. One other bit of advice I will give is find trades that deal with people's finances. Meaning, my best resource for finding private money was my CPA. My CPA understood my business, understood his other clients' businesses, and said, you should talk to Leon. He's delivering returns at X. You need to talk to him. And so I had someone introduce me to an individual that said, I'm currently investing with him as well. It edified me in my role.
Yeah, and
Steve,
people
what
have
would
to
you
understand
say
we're
to the-
like what we're.
Go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead, Eric. Go.
What would you say to the
I'm
so
just
I get
saying
it,
we're all kind of saying we got a lag on it. Go.
some people would say, hey, if the person that invests 30 grand is going to want to know every single day what type of return and what's going on with the house, right? If you watch The Wolf of Wall Street, they say don't pitch or boiler room, right? And they would talk about, like, if the person that invests 30 grand is going to text you every day, the guy that invests 3 million just wants his check in the mailbox. I would just say, I don't know for certain, and I think there's some merit, although it be very little, to what you said about taking $20,000 or $30,000, because it requires the same, maybe more energy to manage that relationship than it does someone that invests $300,000 and might understand a little bit better about the volatility of any investment, whether it be real estate or the market. I'm not saying I know the answer to that, just a challenge back to you to what you said.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very valid point, right? I think the other thing too, though, right? You got to make sure you set the proper expectations, right? Like, hey, here's how it works. But also, right, like looking back, like those are, who knows how many referrals I might have missed out on, right? Doing a good job for someone at 30,000, they might tell their other friends that have access to more capital, right? So, just
I feel like everybody that has 30 grand hangs out with other people that have 30 grand.
Could be.
Good points. All right. So
can I jump in on that real quick?
You one last point, yeah.
All right. So look, very simple, right? You go to an IRA conference. Let's say there's 500 people in the building. All 500 people, other than you, all right, are literally there to figure out how to better manage their money themselves and figure out things they themselves can decide what they want to invest in. They already have financial knowledge. They already understand how interest works. They understand the risk calculation in terms of the investment. And like I think Leon said, they all think, just like all of America, they all think real estate's really sexy. If you walk in that room with a shirt and on the back of that shirt it says raising money for my real estate business, people are going to come up and have conversations with you. You're going to have opportunities to talk to people about raising capital, and you can walk away with a lot of money that's way cheaper than hard money. I can tell you that.
Did you just create a t-shirt?
No, but I've done exactly what I've said before, and I raised a lot of capital doing it. All right.
All right. Really quickly, before we go ahead and announce the winner, we have a comment from @Mr. Tim Ray. Apologies if that's wrong, but he says network. People are looking for alternatives to stocks and business investments. They want to put their money in real estate, but didn't know how. With that being said, Chris Jefferson took this question again. So we have a 2-1 lead over Steve. Yet to get Leon and Eric on the board, but it's okay. They're coming.
I dedicate that round to RJ Bates the third, man.
That's good.
All right, on to question number 4. Before I go ahead and announce this question, I would like to remind the chat, our last question that we answer is a chat submitted question. So go ahead and drop your questions below, and we will have one of those selected as the last question for today. On to the next question. Are you up or down about Airbnbs? And Chris Jefferson, you are up first, sir.
I'm way down on Airbnbs. I don't like Airbnb. I don't think it's a sustainable business. I think it's a hustle and a cash grab because there's too many variables at the end of the day when it comes to Airbnb. It's a buzzword right now. Everybody's saying STR, short-term rental this, short-term rental that. The reality of it is the Airbnb business is essentially the hospitality business. We need to be aware of where we're at in terms of the economy currently, where we see the economy going, and we can just go back and see over history that the hospitality industry will go down. So all these, Airbnbs that people are picking up on leases and getting business credit cards to try to pick these things up to furnish them, I think people are going to have a really hard time in the very near future. I think there's people that do short-term rentals very correctly, where they own the real estate. They've analyzed it in a way where it functions in different exit strategies. But if you're somebody chasing Airbnb and have multiple leases in multiple states and you can't make those payments, I don't like it. I think it's a tough business to want to be in right now.
All right. Next up, Leon Barnes.
I'm indifferent on this one, and here's why. It's not a strategy that I utilize myself. It's something that I have the luxury of being around 300 elite real estate investors on a daily and annual basis. And I know some of them that are crushing in Airbnb, and I know others that won't touch it, like CJ just mentioned. I think it's one of those strategies that if it works in your market, and some markets work better than others, and surprisingly, some of the best markets I've heard recently from some of those investors are in the Midwest. So for me personally, I'm indifferent on it. There are some people that are really, really good at it. I would just, to Chris's point, It is a different business, and people get into it just like I sometimes think people get into apartments and go, well, that's my next phase. It not necessarily doesn't have to be the next phase. So for me personally, I'm indifferent on Airbnb.
Okay. Steve Trang, your thoughts?
So I want to be clear that Leon had no position on that. So for sure, that should be 0 points. Definitely. So I think if you look at every recession, which we're not necessarily in a recession, but has all the signs of it, right? Is there's two things that go down in every recession: tourism and cosmetic surgery. Like those are the two industries that always get hurt, right? So I want nothing to do with that right now. I have zero interest in doing Airbnbs. I don't have any Airbnbs, and again, like a few other things, I've left money on the table. I know it, but I just never had faith in it because that was the one that is very sensitive to the economy. So if I was gonna do it, I would have to be like, where the property's touching the water or something where you got to be like killing it with excellence in that arena. Otherwise, I would want nothing to do with Airbnb.
So you just are indifferent as well.
I want nothing to do with it. I'm down on it.
Let's close it up with Eric Brewer.
I'm intrigued by the concept. Like I watch all these videos and TikToks and Instagram posts of these people putting up their numbers. I'm concerned about the longevity. I think to Chris's point, it's a different business. Certainly the acquisition and renovation of that particular house fits in alignment with what we've always done, but the management of that, the fees associated, and then I'm just really worried about how legislation will impact it, right? Like we've seen how they've really compressed the areas that it's permitted in. I think if you buy a house and it makes sense as a long-term hold and you optimize by making it a short-term rental, that's a great philosophy. But what I wouldn't want you to do is count on $6,000 worth of short-term rental income for a house that would rent for $1,500 if that legislation or something changed about tourism. So buy it as a long-term hold, maximize it as a short-term rental. I think that's a good combo, but I'm generally out. I might buy one or two, but I'm not going all in.
Okay, floor is open. If you guys have anything else to add while we tally up the votes.
Yeah, I mean, how many Airbnb units can the market sustain? You've got where people are taking over entire apartment complexes, turn them into short-term rentals. You got where people are trying to online all these units across the country for Airbnb. What happens when legislation changes? What happens when again it gets regulated? What happens when tourism and hospitality is down? It's just a tough business, in my opinion, to try to be in and plan against for the future in terms of cash flow. So again, to me, it's a hustle and a cash grab. I'm like Steve. I've left money on the table with it, I'm sure, but I like predictable, consistent business, and I don't see that with Airbnb at all.
All of us.
There's that's been around for 10 years. We don't have 20 years of reference to make decisions about how it'll be impacted. The reality is we don't know. Everything that we're guessing about what happens with legislation and hospitality and tourism could be completely different than what actually happens. It's a gamble. And for me, I got into real estate not because it was gamble, it's because it was as close to a sure thing as I could find. So to me, real estate's a sure thing. Airbnb is not. It's a startup.
So ask this question. How many of you guys on this call, how many investors, elite investors, do you know that 100% of their business is Airbnb?
Well, I think the problem, hold on, Leon. So here's the problem with that question, right? It's not the elite investors, I think, that's the concern. I think it's the average person that's being taught arbitrage and they see it as a low cost, low way to get into the business. And so they go out and get business credit cards. They go out and sign leases on multiple properties. And that's all good when it works.
But that's my point.
Yeah. So
we don't know a lot of elite people that are doing it full time.
That's a really good
strategy.
But people don't know that though, because we're in this marketing information age, social media age, where they're just seeing what they see on reels. They're just seeing what they see in ads. And people right now, right today, right in the, Steve says we're not in a recession. I think we are in a recession. It just hasn't officially been declared. But you have people literally right now that are saying, hey, go arbitrage Airbnb.
So here's what always happens, right? Like you bought it as a flip. It didn't work out. I'm going to keep it as a rental. Or you try to sell it as like, this is going to be a great rental property. But now, and then it turns into, well, this is going to be a great group home. This is going to be a great sober living home. Now it's like, this is a great Airbnb. Like it's just all these different degrees of how they have to pitch it to sell the property.
Right.
I think it can be a great strategy as a bolt-on, as an additional,
For diversification.
strategy to monetize. But to Eric's point earlier, if you're buying it and it only works as an Airbnb, I would reconsider that.
Solid.
Now, I will say this. You guys all made great points, but there was a little bit of a letdown because I heard no one bring up the fact that Airbnb house pool parties in the Phoenix market are all the rage right now. And I'm not saying I'm
All the
speaking
more
from
reason you don't want
experience,
them.
but they do pretty good.
They do pretty good. That's what I had for my 40th birthday. We rented out an Airbnb, went crazy with it. But they just passed this rule. I think at Airbnb, no more house parties.
Yeah. That's the quickest way they could tank their company. All right. It looks like Chris Jefferson took that round also.
Whoa.
We've got a
He's even
landslide
surprised.
right
He's even surprised
Yeah.
he took that one.
No. I think
Wow.
I can't believe I won.
it was such a great take. I just thought I'd win by a bigger percentage. That's all.
Sure.
All right. We're coming up on the last question. Again, my reminder to the chat and everyone watching, submit your own question, and that will be the one that we will answer after this one in conclusion of the show. So let's go ahead and get to our fifth question today. What is better to buy on market or off market deals? And let's go ahead and start with Chris Jefferson.
Yeah, I'm still going to say off market, just less competition. I think, I got started in the business in 2008. I remember a vivid time, 2009, really mostly 2010 to 2012, where if I wanted to buy 5 houses literally today, I could call my realtor and she could get me 5 really good quality on market deals that same day. I don't think we're there yet. I think that's we're potentially may end up there again. But right now, today, to answer that, I'm going to 110% go off market. You're competing against less people. You have more control of the negotiation. There's no middle person in terms of the trusted third-party realtor that people are looking for to an opinion of value. So I'm going to always want to chase off-market direct to seller. Again, I think there will be a time potentially in the future where or on market will again make sense. It did at one point, but I don't think that's today.
Okay. Let's go to Eric Brewer.
I think a deal is a deal. Who cares where it comes from? If I can buy an on-market deal, my cost of contract is $0 versus an off-market deal where my cost of contract is $5,000. My net on that $20,000 deal is 20, not 15. So I think it's an oxymoron. A deal is a deal. I don't care if I get it on market or off market. I will say there might be just as much competition on off-market deals as there is for on-market deals. We just don't necessarily know about it. So with that being said, off market, there's a greater opportunity to buy in volume based on today's market conditions. But like Chris, I was in the market back in 2008, 9, and 10, where you literally could go on the HUD's website and just make offers and buy 5 to 6 properties a week. And it was all about just knowing the construction and who your end buyer was. No negotiating. You didn't have to be a great marketer. You literally just had to know how to estimate ARV in construction.
All right. Go ahead and take it to Steve Trang for your opinion.
So obviously, we've been preaching off market for the longest time, but we're starting to see the sellers become pretty realistic. So I have the good fortune of working with someone that works with the funds that's still actively buying here. And the comment is the realtor community these days is are ones that got licensed during COVID, and the negotiation skills are as good as toilet paper. And so they're getting some pretty good pricing right now. And so I'm actually taking a page out of Eric's book from back in the day of lining up with, Adantic and MLS and seeing what options are available. So I actually have a call with Eli Fisher tomorrow morning to kind of figure out how we can systemize this. So I think that we're going to start looking at pursuing on-market deals to see what we can do with that. So right now we're putting efforts towards on-market deals. And I think kind of with Eric, there's just as much competition off-market and on-market.
Shout out Aldanic.
There we go. All right. And Leon Barnes, go ahead with your thoughts.
The bigger pool, Eric said it, the bigger pool of opportunity is off-market, of course. But I can remember 8 years ago where things are cyclical in this industry. I can remember half of the inventory that we put under contract and took down were from the MLS, and things are cyclical in this business. And the best investors, the best leaders are always going where others aren't. I remember when everyone had to go cold call and everyone had to go and text. Well, when people went to texting and cold calling only, the best people shifted and said, I'm going to continue to do direct mail because everyone else has left a lot more of my competition. There are opportunities today on the MLS that did not exist just last year. I haven't purchased in 2 years inventory on the MLS, but I can tell you now that the amount of call volume that's coming from listed properties has doubled in the last month.
All right, gentlemen, the floor is open.
I got a question. If an off-market seller calls you to get an offer, isn't it on market? The property's for sale.
I think you're being semantics here. We're talking about MLS deals.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you didn't say MLS. You said on market. If I'm calling 5 people to tell them I want to sell my house, my house is on the
For
market.
sophisticated investors, on market means on the MLS.
I don't think the guy. I don't think Leon CPA who wants to buy an investment property is licking stamps and envelopes and sending out direct mail to get off market properties, right? I don't think they're one and the same the way you guys are saying. They're distinctly different, right? There's different buyers on MLS that have no idea what wholesaling even is, right? So it's two different things. I do remember the days, to Eric's point, the HUD Home Store, we used to go crazy buying houses on there every week, auction.com. I think a lot of those things are definitely going to be coming back here in the near future. Those would be for sure considered on market. But, again, for me, man, I think there's less competition, maybe a more sophisticated competition off market, but you can cover a lot of ground off market with good systems, good processes. And unlike Leon, the best of the best are cold calling, texting, and sending voicemails. And, maybe every once in a while licking stamps and whatnot too. But, that's my thought on that.
I think you might be a little biased.
Yeah, just a little bit. I didn't say cold calling and texting didn't work. I said go where others aren't, and a lot more went to that route. And they're doing tons of deals from it. You should be doing all is the right answer, Chris.
Yeah,
for sure.
All of the above.
All right. So it looks like the voting is getting ready to close up here. And there's some last second movement. This one's going to be really interesting when it closes out.
Well, let's just keep the voting open until Chris is in second.
I like that strategy.
All right. It looks like it's actually in a tie right now. So we do have the voting open. It looks all right. Let's go ahead and read a comment really quickly while that closes out. Walter Lotero said on market property MLS deals that have been on market 60 days plus. It's a property that could be negotiated.
100%. Here's the thing that I think we're not giving enough credit to. What we're not giving enough credit to is if you look, let's say in Phoenix, right? If in a normal month, Steve, how many properties sell?
8,000 to 10,000.
Out of those 8,000 to 10,000, how many of those are off market?
No, those are all the MLS deals. That's not the total sold volume.
So how many would you say sell off market compared to the 10,000 on market?
I don't know, maybe like less than 1,000 for sure. Hundreds, and it's in the hundreds.
It's a fraction. It's again, like we're fighting over someone puts their house on the market. We're assuming that they want top dollar. The reality is that's not the case. I bought tons of non-bank owned properties in 2008, 9, and 10 from sellers that had limited options from buyers because people didn't have to buy a fixer upper. They didn't want to buy a house that needed paint and carpet because they could go buy a fully renovated house for 50 grand more and only change their payment by $150 a month. On market is grossly underestimated as far as the opportunity. That's just my point. There's 10,000 properties that sell on market in Phoenix and 1,000 that sell off market. You can get 10% of the big pool and it's double getting 20% of the little one.
Okay. All right. So the voting did end in a tie. So that means that the decision is in my hands. And I got to go ahead and give it to Eric Brewer because I owe you one, pal, from a couple weeks ago when I hit you with the buzzer beater. So buzzer beater,
my
Brewer
man
on the board.
Weasel.
And I did back channel Weasel, and I just want to say what I said to him. I said, listen, I see that we're in a tie. I believe Eric Brewer to be the best multitasker that I've ever interacted with. let me go ahead and just concede the point to him. All right. I think he gave a great thought. So, Eric, congratulations on that round, man. I think you earned it. All right.
Thank you. Best comment you've made all day.
Chris just said he gave it to you, is basically what he said, Eric.
He just conceded, like that the election when they politely bow out. That was his concession speech.
Hey, listen, a point's a point. We'll take it, Brewer, right?
Take
Points
it.
are points. $20 is $20, like Leon said.
All right, let's go
There
ahead
you
and
go,
go to the submitted question. Okay, here we go. It's, do you think it's smart to get into commercial real estate in a recession? Let's go ahead and start with the round 5 winner, Eric Brewer.
I don't think it's smart to start anything in a recession, because what we often don't know is how that recession is going to show up. Like the last recession that we saw was fueled by real estate. Real estate is what actually drove the recession. That's certainly not the case now, right? Like real estate has continued to thrive while other industries are already struggling. And I think that's why we're the last people to admit that we're in a recession, because we don't necessarily see it. It's showing up in different industries. It has been for months, if not years by now. My personal opinion is I would go into commercial right now in a recession because there's going to be opportunity, but I'm going to align myself with someone that has a substantial amount of experience. I'm not going to try and learn something during a recession. I think that's a very risky move, but I will align myself with an expert in commercial, and then I'll learn commercial alongside someone that knows what they're doing.
All right. Chris Jefferson, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I don't like the word commercial a lot, because commercial is just such a wide ranging word. You know, you got medical, you got office, industrial. So what I like during a recession is multifamily. I think rents are going to continue to do very well, and I think they're going to hold very firm throughout the recession as they have in the past. I think off market or on market, regardless of what it is, opportunities in multifamily are going to be plentiful. I think they're going to be great. You're going to be able to do seller finance deals. You're going to be able to get very creative and set some things up. So I wouldn't be getting into a lot of different types of commercial during a recession, because they're going to be impacted by different industries, right? But I do think doing multifamily investing in terms of commercial inside of a recession is a really, really great opportunity.
All right.
Chris just said on market. Chris just said on market. How do you go?
Steve Trang, let's go ahead and get your opinions.
I think I would not go into commercial right now, right? I think for me, as things are getting kind of interesting, I would double down on what I know, double down what I'm good at, what's paid the bills for the last few years, and get really excellent at that. Because right now we're going through a purge, right? Our peers, people that we're competing against, are falling by the wayside right now, right? They're going out of business. There's more opportunity for us right now if we stay on track. We go in the commercial. Now we're chasing something that we got to go with the learning curve. We don't know what we don't know. You're going to be opening yourself to some massive risks. I say right now, do what you know well, go make your money, and enjoy and celebrate while your competition, goes on a 6 to 12 month vacation.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Leon Barnes.
The key word that you asked there in that question is start. And starting something new in a recession is, everyone's going to be pretty aligned on this. It's not the most wise decision to make, even if there is opportunity there, because it's not something that you know at a high level. If you have been doing this business right for the last 2 or 3 years, you've had the wind behind you, you've been wind aided, and so it's made you look a lot better than you probably are. Hopefully you've been stacking some cash, and there's some opportunities that may come your way from professionals that are in commercial, be it industrial, multifamily, or any of these others, that you can align yourself as an equity partner in with an expert. That's the only way that I would be looking at something along those lines. The opportunity is there, but aligning yourself with an expert for that commercial is the best way to go if you're going to get into it.
Floor is open, gentlemen.
Yeah, I think Steve and Leon made really strong points.
Go ahead, Chris. We keep doing it.
In terms of this, right? Like, it's all good. So look, right? Like, Yes, like Leon just said, start, and I think that's important to point out. If you got that wind behind you, like he said, when you were making a lot of money over the last couple of years in this gold rush that we've been in, you would have been reinvesting in education. You would have been looking into learning about how to do properties, in terms of commercial, in terms of multifamily, in terms of some of these things, because that learning curve is real, right? Like if you want to start learning now, and we're already in the crux of it, like we're in what we're going to be in, it's starting right now. It might take you 12 months just to learn. It might take you 24 months just to learn. By that time, the opportunity could have passed, right? So I think there's a lot to be said about that too, for sure.
So I would reference an expert, because unlike most of the people in this panel, I am a learned professional. I am
You can't spell learned.
I don't have to. I can pronounce it. This is audio, not visual. Jim Collins talks about the 5 stages of decline, right? I think someone that would go out and start commercial right now is what he calls grasping for salvation, right? They're not able to continue the momentum that they had over the course of the last 2-3 years, and they're going to reach and grab and start something, right, for the sake of salvation, to try and save themselves. And it's stage 4 out of the 5 of decline. What happens next is you're done. So I would say that exact statement, start commercial in a recession, falls firmly into phase 4, stage 4 of Jim Collins, who is a phenomenal read, right? He's written multiple books about business and observations of the top companies in the world over the last 70 years and the people that failed. And he would call it grasping for salvation as one step before capitulation to irrelevance or death. I don't want to go down stage 4. To Steve's point, for the first time all show, I'm going to go back to what I know and stick to the classics.
And I think we all said it here, right? Like going to the expert. Like, I am starting a different venture. We're talking about blockchain, right? But I'm not the expert here. I'm partnering up with someone that is the expert, that's someone that has a track record, right? And I'm aligning myself with him. So like, what Eric said, find a commercial expert, see how you can add value to them, right? Maybe you're really good at skip tracing, cold calling, whatever, and you can add value to someone that knows the industry. But you got to find someone that's the expert and add value to them. Do not try to be the one that becomes the expert. Not right now. It's too late.
Especially for those people in the last 2-3 years that are sitting on a stack of cash because they've been waiting for these moments of opportunity. And they need depreciation. They've always said, I want to get into multifamily. I want to get into commercial. You take what Steve just gave you on aligning yourself with an expert, you have some golden opportunities that could be presented to you to get long-term depreciation, some other benefits that hopefully, if you've been doing this right, you have that stack of cash that you can take advantage of these opportunities, unlike those people that are in that stage 4 and stage 5 that Eric talked about, that they're not going to be in business.
So listen to this.
What we're talking about, by the way, guys. About this.
In a recession, who makes all the money? Who's been waiting for prices to drop or to at least stabilize? People with tons of money.
With stacks.
Right? So that's typically, and what do those people lack that we have? Proprietary deal flow. They have tons of money. They don't know the difference between a deal and a donut. They can't go find the deal. So what you should do is be the acquisition arm of someone that has the person that likely has good commercial experience is very operationally efficient. They know how to maximize commercial rents. They know how to find commercial tenants. Chances are they're not a deal maker. They don't know how to market and sell and negotiate. Align yourself with someone that has big bank and operational efficiency, and you be their acquisition arm. Get yourself a transaction fee and make sure you keep a portion of the equity in the deal.
I just want to bring it up here to Weasel. I think Eric's reading notes. I think someone is feeding him lines. Can we have someone take a screenshot?
Roll that camera around. Who's in the room with you, Eric?
Just say I'm nice.
For sure.
You don't have to be backhanded. Just say that I'm on my ish today.
I just see you looking at a screen. I don't know. I just see you looking at a screen.
By the way, somewhere right now, RJ Bates is in a hockey jersey wishing he could be here.
Steve, I was actually going to give him credit, Steve.
Somewhere out in Texas,
I thought
that thick ass hockey jersey wishing he could be in the air conditioning.
I think he's reading RJ's notes. I think RJ's feeding him something.
RJ's giving him the game. Everybody just said something really important I want to point out, by the way. To my point earlier, this is the benefit of having the skill set of knowing how to go kill your own food, knowing how to go direct to seller, knowing how to talk to people and negotiate, know how to craft deals, know how to figure out what deal placement looks like in terms of disposition. That is the gold, by the way. All right. The guy in the skyscraper that's developing a bunch of properties and stuff like that, he's not going and sitting down with the homeowner to find a deal. He's dealing with brokers, referrals, and things of that nature to get his food. If you know how to kill what you eat, you know how to feed other people. You now have value placement in other people's lives, because in order for them to eat, somebody must serve them food to the table. So do not discount the fact that if you know how to go find opportunity, it doesn't mean you have to be the operator inside of the opportunity. I can tell you, as somebody who's been an operator a long time, that it's more fun to be a partner where you provide an opportunity, put food on the table, and let somebody else cook it. All right. So go find the food, bring it to people, and create opportunities for yourself 110%.
By the
You
way,
guys get
Chris,
those looks from real quick.
It's
real quick,
eat
Eric.
what you
You
kill,
guys,
not kill what you eat, unless you're going to actually eat stuff that's still alive, which is super weird. So just let's eat what you
But
kill.
Listen,
Not
Eric,
kill what you
I
eat.
got you.
So
I got you. Let me help you out. I got you. You're talking to a killer, though. You're talking to a killer. All right. I get on the phone and I kill what I eat. I go get my own food. That's how I make so much money and run this business. So that's just letting you know. All right.
I got you.
We have a comment I'd like to highlight, because that's exactly where my head was. I was super impressed with this one. A deal and a donut is something in the music world that we call a bar. And Eric Brewer, that was a bar, sir. That was a bar.
Leon,
I was
that was a
impressed.
bar. That was a bar from Eric.
You don't want to get me started.
And kudos to your gritty. I saw the video. You have a great gritty. You should go on tour.
he worked on that for a long time. He got it done. Looks good.
The good news is, on that question, last question of the day, Leon Barnes got on the board with 47% of the votes. So that is a point for Leon Barnes. He doesn't go home scoreless today. But the bad news is it wasn't enough to dethrone Chris Jefferson, who's this week's champion. There it is. Flex on him, sir. Your thoughts as the champion for this week.
Yeah, it's tough. Look, I'll just be brutally honest with everyone, as I always am. These guys are good. All right. These gentlemen, they're good. All right. But I take a very simple, practical approach to business. I don't, Eric, I see he's got a lot of these big words. He's probably got one of those fancy college degrees over there somewhere where he learned all that stuff. I don't do all that.
I said the word and he's like, Eric, and it's no word. That's why he has the U.
But no, just kidding, man. It was a great week. Exactly. That's exactly why it's the U. That's exactly why it's the U.
Can I make a suggestion, Chris, just as a friend?
Please.
If you're going to flex on him, please go to the gym. Just consider it.
Wow, Steve bringing heat today.
Hey, listen, Steve, this is what I'll do. Let's get your 100 millionaires, or 73 millionaires at this point. I'll bring the U family. I know you like to play basketball. I like to hoop a little bit.
Ooh.
You can put Eric Brewer in your team. I'll take Leon. Leon, you could be a honorary member of the U.
How do you get Leon?
Let's put some money up for charity.
On the Trang Brewer train. Like, where does this come from? This is not an expansion draft. Me, Trang, Leon, and my
we can get a good game going. We can get a good game going.
We'll play 5-on-4. Me,
5-9. Leon's on my team for sure, man.
Ooh, sending shots. Sending the shots. I like it. So I guess we're setting up the charity basketball game, and we'll see where the talk is. Are you guys going to put your money where your mouth is? For the record, we've been trying to get Steve onto a court in our office for a long, long time. And I'm supposed to be on his team, so I'm not going to say he's ducking smoke, but any assistance you guys can give us.
Me and you are going to talk. I'm going to be in Arizona soon. Make sure he gets hydrated. It's 115 degrees, man.
Weasel, I can tell you this, Weasel, since you're the scorekeeper, get me on a basketball court and there will be no L's.
Okay. It's getting scary out here. It's getting scary out here, and I like it. This was the energy I needed, fellas. But what a great episode. Another great episode. We appreciate all your insight, your knowledge. Thank you guys. Let's go ahead and go virtual left to right. Let's get some closing statements. We'll start with Steve.
I'll say the same thing I said before, right? It's like we got 4 guys here that know the business inside out. These are guys that, as you can hear, have been doing this for over 10 years, right? Like they made it. They've gone through the challenges, right? They've gone through the crucible. So, I just vouch for all these guys. So if you guys are, concerned, struggling, sales, we got my event coming up, Sales Disruptors. Go to disruptors.com/sales disruptors. You guys interested in joining the best mastermind in the country? You got Leon here representing Collective Genius. Get Eric Brewer. He's got the Brewer method. He also does consultations. And then we got Chris Jefferson with the U. I mean, everyone here can help you. You just got to figure out who's the best person to work with to help you.
I had to hit that one for you, Steve. Great closing statements.
Nice.
I like it. All right. Eric Brewer.
I'm happy to be back. I had a lot of fun. My schedule doesn't always allow me to be here, but I've made arrangements so that moving forward, I'll be able to be here each week. I really enjoyed. I think what's great about what Steve's put together here is what you're hearing from these people is actual, genuine knowledge that is being shared with the listeners in an effort to help, versus a lot of people that get together and do these types of shows or streams and they throw out buzzwords and things that might entice you to want to enroll in a course. None of us are really here for that. We like having fun. We all like to sort of talk a little smack. And I just value the fact that we're able to balance that with actually providing value. If you've looked at any of the comments or feedback from people that have watched this, it is an absolute hit. So I'm just happy to be a part of it and looking forward to being back next week.
Awesome. All right, Leon, don't forget the G Barnes.
You got to get the G in there, and it stands for not a guru. No gurus on here. Everybody here, guys, are all people that are here to help. I look forward to this every single week, Steve. I appreciate you inviting me and making me a part of this. I look forward to Thursdays doing this. The biggest thing I say from today's questions is just make sure that if you're trying to do something in this market, not understanding where this market is going, don't go out and start trying new things. Commercial, all these other things. We talked about wholesale being the best strategy right now of, just being able to pivot and be flexible. Just continue to tune in. You get sage advice, seek wise counsel, and you've got it here with these 3. And hopefully I add a little bit to that. And yes, thank you, Eric, for selling hard for getting me on the show. I do owe you something. I'm sure.
For the record, I invited you. Steve reached out.
Fair statement.
Big difference. My executive assistant communicated the message to you. Steve is my EA.
Well, regardless of the details, Leon, it is a pleasure to have you here week after week. So we do appreciate it. And CJ, go ahead and bring us home, man. The champ.
Yeah, man. I guess I've got, 3 stars on the helmet, I guess, at this point. So that's always good. In all seriousness, man, it's good to get on here and poke each week and have fun. And I think the important message, though, is like everybody's already said, you're getting educated information from different perspectives. And as somebody watching, right, like you've got to take that information, you've got to analyze it against your own life, against your own goals, against what you're trying to accomplish, and figure out where things fit, inside of that for you. And, when Steve put this all together, man, I know that was the goal, right? It's like, how can we share multiple perspectives? How can we show people the opportunity that they have when it comes to this business? Because, somebody's been doing it a long time. I've had to pivot or wanted to pivot multiple times into different types of opportunities within real estate. But to me, that's the beauty of it. You can learn core concepts, core information, and you can apply that in so many different ways to get to your goals and the life that you desire. So appreciate everybody tuning in. Steve, appreciate you putting it together, and, everybody that participates in the show along with, everybody else, man. Thank you guys so much.
I miss RJ, by the way, and I would make a suggestion that when he comes back and we're all here, that I think you add a 5-man panel if you can make it
rotation
happen. I think it would be awesome. Leon's been a great addition. Chris does an okay job. Steve runs the thing, so he's got to stay. And when RJ comes back, I think there's room for both him and his hockey jersey, and we should get him back on and do a 5-man panel.
Asking a big ask for the team. We'll have to see.
I was getting ready to say, Steve, I think it's a great idea. And shout out to our whole team, but in specific, Manny right here, instant panic when you said 5-man panel. Instant panic. So we'll see if we can figure
No
that
pressure,
out.
no diamond. No pressure, no diamond.
That's going to be it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, submitting your questions, being so interactive in the chat. We appreciate it. Part of the Disruption is here every Thursday, 11:30-ish a.m. every week. And we will see you next week. Thank you guys for tuning in.